morning, lovely people out there. Welcome to another episode of Bold TV, powered by Bold Hearts Initiative. We come to you every Saturday, 10:30 a.m. in the morning, and we bring you premium value. We share content regarding women with disabilities. We talk about issues that affect specifically women with disability. Whether you're a person with disability or not, what we have to offer will affect you. Either you are a person with disability or you're not, or you know someone who has a disability. The information we bring your way can go a long way to help us create a world where there is accessibility and inclusion, and we can accelerate action to attain the goals of having a more inclusive world. So welcome to the show today. I'm your anchor, Afeong Etim, and with me, you can see the lovely ladies with me, very erudite, very articulate. Their brain is hot and they are here to share their insights. Today, we'll be talking about advocacy. I'm sure we hear, the word is being thrown around everywhere. Oh, I'm a disability rights advocate. I am a this advocate. I am a that advocate. But today, we want to really drill down and find out what is advocacy and how can we do it right. So before I continue, I'm going to let the ladies introduce themselves as usual, starting with you, Osaki.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning, online audience. I remain Osaki Teresa Georgie. I reside in Port Harcourt, Onne, Rivers State. I'm a freelancer and a farmer, a member of Bold Hearts Initiative, a disability rights advocate, and also a co-host in Bold TV. Thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here.
Welcome, Osaki. JB Bohead, advocate. All right, Frecky, over to you.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Freki Andrew Essien. I'm based in Port Harcourt in Rivers State. I'm a member of Bold Hearts Initiative, also the Idi of Faith Foundation. I use a wheelchair from spinal cord injury, and I do many things, including disability advocacy, since that is our topic.
All right, thank you, Freki. We are glad to have you with us today. Florence.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. I am a lawyer. I live and work in Abuja. I'm an amputee. I'm a member of Bold Heart Initiative and a co-host on Bold Heart TV. Thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you for joining me. And now to our guest who is joining us today to help justice this topic, we have Ejiro. Ejiro, please go ahead and introduce yourself, your name, where you're based, what you do, and your type of disability.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Bold TV, for having me. My name is Ejiro Kuti. I'm the Executive Director for Hope Inspired Foundation for Women and Youth with Disabilities. I am a woman with a disability. I am blind, and I am based in Advocacy, Ebonyi State. Thank you.
You're welcome, Sharon. We're glad to have you with us today. And I am your host for today, the principality and the power on this platform at this moment. My name is Afeong Etim. I am a medical lab scientist. I am based in Uyo, the lovely capital city of Akwa Ibom State. I use a wheelchair from spinal cord injury, and I am a member of Bold Hearts Initiative. So now let's take a dive into this topic. Advocacy. What is advocacy? We hear a lot about it, but let's define it. What is advocacy? And then we will now, step down to define it, in relation to disability. What is advocacy? Frank, you go first.
Okay, thank you very much. So advocacy as a word is an action that focuses on promoting with intention a cause or an action or an interest. For us in the disability community, advocacy focuses on disability rights. So in a nutshell, that is what advocacy is. And I want you to hinge on actions. It's not a thought process. It's not an intention to, but it's an act of promoting, for us, disability rights, disability interests, disability messaging to key parties that can ensure results. for workable actions.
All right. Thank you so much. So, keyword action. So, advocacy is not just about, taking a stand or identifying with the position. Yes, it is, but it's more about the actions you take based on your position. Ejiro, do you want to add to that?
Okay, I think I would like to just maybe pick it up from where Becky ended up. So it's actions that are aimed at achieving a specific result. So people do advocacies not because they just want to do advocacy, not because they just want to take steps or take action, but there's always a specific goal or a particular objective to be achieved from that advocacy. So taking from, just as you said, advocating for disability rights. It may be, setting a specific goal to advocate for maybe a disability law, legislation in the state that will protect the rights of persons with disabilities. And then people begin to take, various actions or various steps towards that direction to ensure that at the end of the day, we're able to ensure that, various stakeholders have been engaged and we get a disability law, passed in a particular state. That's just to give an example. There's so many other results that people want to get, or specific objectives that makes people, engage in advocacy, even in the disability community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you. So there must be a specific goal. Advocacy it's not generalization. There must be a specific goal that you are in pursuit of, and you channel every strategy and all efforts towards achieving that goal. So now we are going to, now that we've laid a foundation about what advocacy is action, advocacy is, identifying a goal or a cause that you want to see change in, identifying a particular problem and working towards its solution. Now we are going to go into misconceptions about advocacy. More often than not, many people, even within the disability community, don't know what advocacy entails, what it involves. And so many times it's done wrongly, and we wonder why we don't get the results we should get. So Osaki, just share maybe one or two misconceptions about advocacy.
Okay, thank you very much, Afyong. Okay, one or two, like what I would rightly say now, is advocacy is not only for lawyers or experts. Some people feel that, no, I cannot speak, I'm not in the law field, I cannot do it. It's their thing, it's not my thing. There's no specific class of people to do advocacy. Another one I would say is, you don't have to have a disability before one can do a disability or relate to either have a sister or a friend. The moment you see something is wrong and it's the right of the person, no matter the person's stereotype or type of it, you just have to advocate. And most times, you don't have to be with a disability before you advocate. As long as you can do it, I know that person needs that help or solution, you advocate for the person. So one, I would say, it's not for lawyers or experts or particular kind of people. Two, you don't need to have a disability or be related to or be their friend or something. It's something that everybody needs to partake in. Thank you.
All right. So advocacy is about bringing change. Whether it affects you directly or not, you can play a part as long as you are in a position to do so. You can play a part just by speaking about it and drawing attention to it. Florence, can you share some misconceptions?
Okay, there could be the misconception that advocacy is a one-off thing, but it's a continuous process. When you start advocating for a cause, you have to keep advocating. You have to continue the advocacy until you achieve that cause. So you don't just give up also when it is not forthcoming or when it is taking too long. When you are advocating for a cause, know and be certain that it will take a long time. Then,
all right.
Okay. Then another thing that I want to say is that it's not all the time that advocacy would involve protest or would involve a lot of back and forth or argument. It could be very subtle. Advocacy could be very subtle. So it depends on what you're advocating for. It depends on also the stakeholders or the people that you are engaging. So that will determine the approach that you take. So it's not all the time that you approach advocacy through activism. So there is the need to also differentiate between advocacy and activism.
All right, we will come to that when we talk about the how. But thank you very much for sharing that. So advocacy, the strategy will depend on your audience, your target audience. And then advocacy is not something, not a one-off thing. You talk about it once and go to sleep. You have to keep at it. There must be repetition. You rinse and repeat. All right. Anybody else wants to add to this? Frankie, go ahead.
Okay, so the thing I want to add as a misconception is the fact that a lot of times people think that because a person has a disability, it translates automatically to wanting to, function in disability advocacy. And it has led to a lot of dragging, even within the disability community. And I tell people that the credential for disability advocate is not that you have a disability. There are many persons with disabilities that are not keen on advocacy of disability rights, and it's within their right to want to participate actively or not. The second one I would say as a misconception is that advocacy is not a sprint. It is more like a marathon. And also, whether we like it or not, advocating for a cause has many players. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So advocacy is not about, I have a disability, so I will talk about disability. There are so many other vulnerable groups. There are so many other causes that, we can go into. The important thing is trying to correct a wrong or changing, something that is not working as it should. Thank you so much, David. That has been very, comprehensive. So, and I want to add that many times when we talk about advocacy, people think it has to do with money. I don't have money, so I cannot be an advocate for a particular cause. No, advocacy does not always have to do with money. Just you standing up to draw attention. I remember, for example, when, I think I've shared it here before, when I first got employed and, I had an accident twice. I fell from my wheelchair at the entrance to my place of work. And, there was no ramp there. It was a step down platform. And, I usually required help to go up and come down. And by the time I had fallen from that place twice, I realized something needed to be done. So while I was complaining to somebody about it, the person was like, why are you complaining? Write a letter. Let the management know. And that's what I did. I wrote a letter to the management, drew their attention to the fact that, see, this place needs an upgrade. And, it didn't even take time. It just directed me to meet somebody in the works department. And the person met with me and we discussed. I told him how it should be done and what needed to be done. And within a few weeks, a ramp had been put up. And funny enough, now I'm not the only one using the ramp. People without disability are using it more than, but that's the case. That's advocacy. I spoke up and now there's, other people are benefiting from it. So advocacy goes beyond you. It's not just you. We think about, advocacy, it has to be about, but sometimes it starts from your immediate environment. You don't have to go to government house. Your family can be your first line of advocacy. Your place of work, your colleagues can be another line of advocacy. You don't have to travel to anywhere to advocate for a cause. You can start with your immediate environment. So ladies, thank you very much. And now we're going to move on to why this is so important. Why is it important to advocate? Can't we just, wait until things change? Ejiro, can you share with us one or two reasons? Why is it important, especially for women with disabilities? Why is it so important for us to get to advocacy?
Thank you, Effiong. So, at every point in time, we all have, needs. And sometimes some of those needs can be overlooked, not because society wants to, because they do not know better sometimes. Sometimes it stems from ignorance and all that. And when it comes to people with disabilities, particularly, women with disabilities, a lot of those unique needs that we have are often forgotten. If they are not forgotten, they are brought in at the last minute. That is if they are ever brought in. So it is important. Advocacy then comes in very handy because one, it helps us to speak up for ourselves. You talked about, speaking up. So it gives us the avenue to speak up, but not just speaking up to ourselves, but speaking up to people that have the capacity to change, those things those causes that we need to be addressed, or those needs that we need to be that has to be addressed. So I think that it is very important because again, it helps to shine the light on all of those, those dark, those little cracks, those things that may fall in between the cracks because according to society, they are not so important. It helps us to focus on those things that are important, or within excluded groups like the disability community, and then again within women with disabilities. The other importance of advocacy, it helps in amplifying voices. So women with disabilities, oftentimes, even within the broader women's movement, you find that our voices are really, really minimal. Our voices are very, almost not heard. But with advocacy, we're able to amplify that voice and ensure that we are heard, and ensure that we are visible, ensure that we have a seat at the table, and we can also make a contribution, meaningful contribution at that. So these are two key reasons why I think advocacy is important. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Osaki, can you add to that?
Okay, thank you very much. Two reasons I am sure of why it's important. That one, for empowerment and inclusiveness, which is very, very necessary. Oh, sorry, I wanted to. So for one, empowerment and inclusiveness. The other one is to address violence and abuse. A typical one I'll give as instance is I work from home and I'm married. So there have been times that, okay, maybe my husband will come back and maybe something else is not, let's say for example, dinner is not ready. So it's just for him to say, what happened? And I could just, okay, maybe work or something happened, I did not meet up with dinner, or it's in fire. So what he would just do, he would just continue from where I stopped, instead of being abusive or being angry, because on many occasions before we got married, he had met me on both TV programs. So you know that this one is advocate, so there's nothing I can do to this, as in automatically he knows that there's no form of abuse or violence. So he has to use a very intelligent way of how we can solve our problems. So that's one I want to really keep as an importance, because of the constant information he has been hearing, and he meets me on both TV most times. So he knows that no, this one is not no-go area. Thank you.
All right. So empowerment, amplifying voices, putting ourselves out there, increasing visibility and awareness, sensitizing people to our needs. Anything else? Does anybody else want to, contribute to this particular question? All right. Okay, Frank, you can go ahead.
So advocacy is very important in the disability community, because disability is a marginalized field. Persons with disabilities are termed marginalized persons. And then for women with disabilities, because of our gender, also another marginal group of persons. And I always talk about the intersection, of disability and gender. And so like Idris said, if you do not speak to the issues, it will be overlooked, whether in the gender space, whether in the disability space. So what does advocacy do? It makes the issues visible. It makes your cause visible. It makes people to stand up, their ears are tickled or stand at attention, because all of a sudden they realize that something that was their usual is not okay and should not be the status quo. The second reason why advocacy is so key is because advocacy done can bring results, irrespective of how long it takes, or whenever it brings positive results, it's for the betterment of groups of persons, and for us, persons with disabilities. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So there is every need to speak up. There's every need to take action. There's every need to ensure that people are aware. People will not just know what you need unless you tell them. People will may treat you anyhow unless you let them know this is how you should be treated. So ladies, thank you so much for the robust conversation so far. Now, finally, before we round up, we've talked about what advocacy is. We've talked about the misconceptions and stereotypes. We've also talked about the importance, why it is important to engage in advocacy. Now we are going to get practical. How do we do this the right way? How do we do this the right way? Is it enough to just go out there and tell people, I am this is what I need? Is it enough to do that? How do we get this right? And everybody will get to weigh in on this particular question. How do we do this the right way? So Florence, I'll start with you.
Okay, first of all, we have to sit down and streamline the strategies that you want to use when you're involved in advocacy or when you're advocating for yourself. For instance, you can start with public awareness. But you shouldn't stop at public awareness. When there are no changes, when there are things, for instance, when you are advocating for the implementation of the Disability Act, you can start by, creating public awareness about the existence of the Act, about the rights that are enshrined in the Act, and some of these things will go a long way. But you don't stop at that, and you can also have a timeline for doing that. But legal advocacy or litigation will also be very important, because that is also a form of advocacy. Because by the time you institute an action concerning the enforcement of a certain right, you should go a long way to even create the awareness that you started with, and also letting people know, and it will also serve as a deterrent to others who would want to infringe on the rights of persons with disabilities. So doing it right, you have to look at what exactly you are doing, then deploy all the necessary strategies that will aid you in advocating and achieving a result for that cause you are advocating for.
All right, thank you, Florence. Frankie.
Okay, so there's a lot to say, but since there are others, I'll keep it simple. When it comes to issues around disability rights, I see a lot of times where the issues start joining to themselves because the advocate did not frame what the issue is. Now, what I mean is this: there are many contexts that influence a problem. On the surface, the issues look the same, but what is driving that barrier or that issue and making it an advocacy problem makes it the issue. So let me give an instance. Issues around accessibility in Lagos may not be the same issues around accessibility in River States. For instance, if the issue of accessibility in Lagos is lack of implementation of an existing law, the strategy that you will use to advocate for that issue that you have framed will be different. But if the issue around accessibility rights for persons with disabilities in the state is that there is even no law to push the legal framework that would protect the rights of persons with disability and accessibility rights, the strategy would be different. So issue framing is important, and the context that influence that issue is okay. And that's one thing that the advocate needs to do. The second thing is understanding what you have. The teacher will say it's from known to unknown. What are the things on ground that would even give you that enabling environment to start your advocacy journey? You need to be able to identify them, and they come in different ways. They can come as stakeholders, they can come as allies, they can come as champions, they can come as frameworks within the community that you're advocating. So it's good to identify what you have in the first place and see if they are workable. Then the third one, do not underestimate the power of knowledge for the advocate, knowledge for the public, because if people that you're working with, let's say you decide I want to work with persons with disabilities to amplify the issue, if they are not knowledgeable of what the right is, what you will find is the same thing. People will detract them from what that issue is because they want to self-serve in your purpose. And too many things. Let me stop.
We won't exhaust it today, so let's just keep it as brief as possible so that we can finish up. Maybe we'll have to revisit this issue. Hey, Jiro.
Okay, so thank you. I'll just continue from where Frankie stopped, and she talked about understanding the resources that you have. So the other part of that understanding the resources also, understanding the role that each of those, like what each of those people can bring. So when you've done a stakeholder mapping, it's also to look at the influence of those stakeholders who will be able to help with what, right? And then the other part of it, another how to conduct advocacy is to identify what channel is most useful, right? So depending on what you're doing, is it media channels you want to use? Is it lobbying that you want to use? Is it court CVC that you want to use? So identifying what channels or what strategies, right, are most effective is also very important, because as she said, many times once you're not very clear on what your advocacy goal is, it's difficult to know who your stakeholders are. It's difficult to know what channels. And then I think very important is your message. What is that core message? What is that key thing, right, that you want people to remember about that advocacy, or that you want people to know that you want to achieve? Very clear, So these are some additional steps that are required. People must be very, very clear on what the end goal is. what we want disability law, that's what it is. Or we want inclusion of women with disabilities in House of Assembly, or we want accessibility of public buildings. Sharp, sweet, easy to remember, very clear, and then we can now use that to also begin to design what channels, what strategies will be most effective in our advocacy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So your message is important because that will be the driver of the entire campaign, and to determine the strategies to use. Thank you so much for sharing with us. So, Frankie, you still want to say something else?
Yeah, sorry. And I wouldn't know what was referred to earlier, but I believe it has been covered. So I think maybe what I would just say, because I really know that advocacy is not a sprint, one of the things you can do is celebrate the wins that you make, no matter how small. They are great motivators on the journey of advocacy. Also celebrate other players in that advocacy, because whether you like it or not, it's not only you. So it's okay to celebrate them. It's something I really want to push in the disability community, because sometimes we become silos, we become solo artists, when we know that sometimes it's a group effort to get somewhere. Somebody planted a seed, yes, I guess it go. Somebody watered it, became a tree, became fruit, bearing fruit. So it's okay to celebrate others. Your shine is your shine. It won't take away from you. So those are some things I will add.
All right, thank you so much. So there's no need for competition. Advocacy is not about competing. We are stronger together. If all of us are doing our own thing and we don't acknowledge that, this person, we are all aiming for the same goal, which is a more inclusive world, then we will end up, distracting the public and lose interest. Because if all of us are saying different things at the same time and we are not, there's no unity of purpose, there's no unified voice, those that we are targeting to help us, achieve our goals will end up walking away because they will feel they are not ready. They don't even know what they want. So, first and foremost, have a clear message. What is it I want to highlight? And then you decide, how do I want to go about making sure that this message is heard, understood, and then ensure that there is a call to action. Because people may not know, okay, I've heard you, I feel your pain, but how do I help you? Ensure that people know exactly what you want them to do and how they can do it, so that they can be more productive. They will be more inclined to support you when they have clear-cut, instructions on how they can do it, especially for those who have chosen to be your champion and to support your cause. So these are some of the things that we can do. We can't exhaust this topic because advocacy is a very wide. If you want to go into the legislative policy making and decision and adding a bit of lobbying here and there, it's a whole other topic. Osaki, is there anything you want to say to this before we close? We're rounding up now.
Okay, thank you very much. What I will say is that start from where you are. You don't have to go anywhere. And also encourage self-advocacy, especially what we are doing here. Both TV is a very big example for that. And also try and see how we can support women-led disability organization, where there's a program of women pushing this advocacy. At least the least we can do is share, comment, at least. If not, I was on our social media, we can share it wide, we can comment on it, and that's better. That can be an advocacy. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Osaki. So on that note, we come to the end of today's episode of Bold TV. And I believe we have done some justice to this topic. And I'm grateful to the ladies. Frankie, you want to say something?
Yes, I did. So I was thinking that there's something that I wanted to say I forgot. Sometimes there are the structured ways of doing advocacy. But I want to encourage advocates to look out for some opportunities that can just present themselves. I'm sure that you will understand what I'm talking about. So, for instance, you want to meet the governor and you don't have access to the governor, but then somehow you're thrown into the same space with the wife of the governor. And you're like, but that's not the person that I want. You find out that it's possible for you to get the governor through the wife of the governor. So I'm saying, watch out for unconventional ways to be able to frame your issue. Sometimes those are even the clinchers, a lot of times, and all that. And then I want to put Ejiro on the spot because recently the Ebonyi State government signed into law the Disability Act in Ebonyi State. So if I could put her on the spotlight, just tell us one or two things about that.
We're the youngest baby on the block in Nigeria, Okay, so thank you for bringing that up. I think on the 14th of March, we eventually got our bill of over 13 years journey past. So just as we were talking about, advocacy sometimes can be a very long and daunting journey. I think it was Florence that made reference to the fact that you really don't have to be frustrated. You just have to keep pushing and knocking. I think my organization, Hope Inspire, joined the battle, I think in 2023, through a DRF, Disability Rights Funded project. And it took quite a lot. So they already had a draft, so again, framing your issue, right? And getting the various stakeholders. So the first thing was doing the stakeholder mapping, kind of really identifying who are the influencers when it comes to disability matters in the states, right? Who are those that may not be influencers on disability issues, but if they are approached, they can come on board, and that identification was done. And then my organization, we identified it because we worked very closely with women with disabilities. Because again, as I said before, even in broader women's movement, you don't get to see women with disabilities so visible. So for us, that was important. Emphasizing, ensuring that women with disabilities are visible in this process was important to us. So we had a team of 10 women with disabilities to set up the technical working committee. And these women working with JONAPID and of course all of the other stakeholders that we've talked about, we had to do trainings on advocacy, framing our issue, getting clear messages, having everyone on the same page, and then of course looking at the draft bill that was in existence and seeing if it actually spoke to the needs that we had, and we were able to support with review and update of that draft. And then the journey started. We needed to not only look outside of disability community, the media were involved. At a point, we engaged international donors. There's a USAID governance project that we brought in at a time, to help engage at certain high level, for some high level engagement that, our organization or JONAPID couldn't get to. We brought those people in. At some point, there were some government officials, that now bought into it and took it up. So by the time, the bill got good attention, a neutral person, totally not even related to the bill at all, a commissioner for grants, took it up to ESCO, and the governor was able to approve that it should be sent to the House of Assembly as an executive bill. And in the space of less than a week, the bill got passed, into law. And we're hoping that in the next, in a couple of weeks, we would have the governor's assent on the law, and then also the establishment and inauguration of the Disability States Commission. So yeah, so it was a great achievement for us, a huge milestone and win for the disability community. And I like the last point that Freki made, is to say that different ingredients make up a pot of soup. Only Egusi cannot say that I'm the one that made up the Egusi soup. So certainly, as I've just highlighted, several persons, civil society organizations, members of disability community, the government, stakeholders, private individuals, so many people, played different roles in ensuring that we hit this goal at the end of the day. And I will certainly give credit to all of them, including Disability Rights Fund that provided funding for us to be able to provide, the level of support that we give to the state to achieve that. So thank you so much, Freki.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. That is indeed heartwarming and it's encouraging. Sometimes we think that, nothing is happening. It seems like everything is at a standstill, but that's not the case. These are, small pockets of victory, small wins that we can celebrate and, amplify. Because by the time we make this a big deal, people will know that, we are actually moving forward, and more places will be, encouraged to do more. People that may have given up will be encouraged to do more. So thank you so much. Ladies, thank you for showing up today. It's been a very interesting discussion. And to those who will, who will tune in and watch our videos, who will be watching the replays, thank you so much for always being there. Please head over to our YouTube channel, subscribe, click the like button, turn on notifications so that you know when we have new content put up there. Go to our Facebook page, like it, and if you're a person with a disability, a woman with disability, you can request to join the group and you will be added to it, and you have access to all the content, previous content. And then for those, if you want to come on the program, like you see this beautiful lady there, you want to come on the program and contribute, please do well to reach out to any of the co-hosts, myself, Freki, Osaki, Florence, Grace, and Tomisi. So reach out to any of us and we will let you know how you can come on the program. Thank you so much. Do well, like our videos, comment, and please share wide on all your social media platforms. This is not just about us. Other people need to hear it and also know how they can support us in this journey. So thank you so much. Until we come your way next week, Saturday, same time, 10:30 a.m. We are going to say goodbye for now and look out for us next week. So ladies, let's say goodbye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. This is Bold TV.